Max Verstappen had a very stressful weekend in Singapore this past week. And today I'll be talking about just why, so stay tuned. Max Verstappen has hinted he might walk away from Formula One, expressing frustration with the FIA's management of the sport. He criticised the governing body's silly focus on minor issues like drivers swearing, which led to his punishment at the Singapore Grand Prix. Verstappen finished second to McLaren's Lando Norris at Marina Bay, narrowing his championship lead to 52 points. After the race, Verstappen didn't hold back, slamming the FIA for handing him a community service penalty for his pre-race press conference outburst, where he called his car "fucked." When asked if these trivial disputes with the FIA could affect his future in F1, the 26-year-old was crystal clear. "For sure, yeah," he said. "I mean, these kinds of things definitely decide my future as well. When you can't be yourself, you have to deal with these kinds of silly things. Now, I'm at a stage of my career that I don't want to be dealing with this all the time. It's really tiring." Before the weekend kicked off, FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem made it clear he didn't want drivers swearing, likening it unfavourably to rap artists. Lewis Hamilton criticised this stance, suggesting it was influenced by racial bias and stereotyping. Both Norris and Verstappen, along with other drivers, felt that Ben Sulayem was focusing on a trivial issue that didn't warrant such attention. The day after swearing in the press conference, Verstappen was handed a day's community service as punishment. In response, he attended the post-qualifying FIA press conference on Saturday, giving almost monosyllabic answers to questions. Instead, he chose to speak to journalists in full outside the FIA session, which he did in the paddock. After Sunday's race, Verstappen continued his minimal engagement in the press conference, once again providing the bare minimum of responses, and then speaking to journalists more openly once the official session had ended. Verstappen said that despite his run of access in the sport in the past 3 years, he says that the FIA is sucking out the joy of racing for him. In his words, "Of course it's great to have success and win races, but once you have accomplished all that, winning championships and races, then you want to just have a good time as well," he said. "Everyone is pushing to the limit. Everyone in this battle, even at the back of the grid. But if you have to deal with all these kind of silly things, for me that is not a way of continuing in the sport, that's for sure." His former rival Lewis Hamilton showed support for Verstappen, labelling the FIA's stance on drivers swearing as a joke, suggesting that Verstappen should not take part in his punishment, saying that he personally wouldn't have if it was him in Verstappen's shoes. The FIA has remained silent on Verstappen's remarks and his press conference stance. The Dutchman has openly questioned whether the governing body will even acknowledge the potential risk of losing a world champion prematurely. "I don't know how seriously they will take that kind of stuff, but for me, at one point, when it's enough, he said. "We'll see. Everything will go on, I have no doubt. It's not a problem because Formula One will go on without me, but it's also not a problem for me. So it's how it is." Verstappen also disclosed that he had received support from other drivers. "Yeah, for sure. Of course I wrote in the GPDA chat the ruling, and everyone was almost laughing like, what the hell is that, basically. So, yeah, it is very, very silly." The GPDA is set to collect feedback from its members to craft a response to the FIA's recent penalties for swearing. GPDA chairman Alex Wurtz, in an interview with Formel1.d, mentioned that although not every driver uses expletives, penalising swearing seems overly harsh. He cited several examples to illustrate his point, emphasising the need for a more balanced approach. How many lifetime community services would Gunther Steiner have to serve for using the F-word? He was glorified for using the F-word. Netflix broadcast this worldwide, no problem, but then to suddenly change like that. I have to say, the choice of words is not my personal taste as a driver. As GPDA chairman, I have to officially say that we will, of course, discuss it internally, first reach a full consensus, and then we will consider whether and in what form we will talk to the FIA and the president. Wurtz made sure to emphasise that the matter will be addressed internally and not under the public eye. He added, "Personally, I always believe, and we also do this at the GPDA, we solve it internally. We don't go through the media. Very rarely does something go from the GPDA to the media, because we simply try to solve things internally for the sake of the sport and want to bring the people and the individual key stakeholders on our journey together. I think drivers have to be allowed to express themselves authentically to some extent. Of course, it shouldn't be personally offensive, and it shouldn't be discriminatory either. They've all come a long way in that regard, so for me personally, the penalty is too severe. Moving our discussion to the racetrack, Verstappen's weekend in Singapore would be described as damage limitation. With 6 races left in the season, Verstappen is holding on to a slim margin against his rival Lando Norris in the Drivers' Championship. Verstappen and his teammate Sergio Perez faced a tough start to the weekend, struggling to get a handle on the RB20 at the Marina Bay Street circuit. However, Verstappen managed to turn things around, making it into the pole position shootout and securing second place behind his championship rival, Lando Norris. On race day, Norris and McLaren proved to be dominant, with Norris winning by a significant 20-second margin, cutting Verstappen's title lead from 59 points to 52 with 6 rounds remaining. When asked about his lonely race, the defending champion said, "I think that's pretty much my race by myself. I tried to do the best I could, tried to manage my own pace to the end. I think the first stint was a bit difficult for us, quite a bit of tyre degradation. The second stint was a bit better, I was a bit more comfortable as well. I think on a weekend where we knew that we were going to struggle, to be P2 is a good achievement. Of course, we are not happy with second. Now we just have to try and improve more and more, and that's what we'll try to do." Verstappen's points lead could have been trimmed to 51 if not for a late, successful fastest lap attempt by RB's Daniel Ricciardo. His effort denied Norris the bonus point that was up for grabs. Asked about his dwindling lead to Norris, Verstappen had this to say, "It is, but this also can change very quickly again. So we just need to keep on trying, try to, at one point, overturn it a bit, not always finishing behind, but we'll see how that goes." Red Bull's team boss, Christian Horner, was also quizzed about the team's performance. The British team boss shared that the team was able to implement setup tweaks that responded as they wished, gave the team hope and some new learnings about their car. As the team plans on utilising the upcoming autumn break to work on upgrades, Horner was ecstatic that the changes they made to their car correlated to on-track performance for both of his drivers. "I think that the encouraging thing was the car reacted as we hoped it would, and what our tools were telling us. So I think that's the encouraging factor. I think that the team is starting to get a direction and understanding of where some of the limitations and some of the causes of limitations, and that opens up development paths and veins that hopefully will be productive." Christian Horner has shared that former F1 driver Sebastian Buemi dedicated extensive time in the simulator at Milton Keynes on Friday. Buemi's efforts were crucial in helping Red Bull address and overcome their challenges. Buemi, was consuming plenty of Red Bull to keep him going. So he played an important part as a whole team in working hard and long days and long nights. With the benefit of it, there being no factory shutdown over the next 3-week period before the next round, it's going to be a busy hive of activity. So do you agree with Max that the FIA is being unreasonable about fining drivers when they curse? Let's talk about it in the comment section below. That's all for today, so thanks for watching.